Hey, it's Cousin Tim in Missouri. It's a cool day here in southwest Missouri, and what we're going to do is there's a football game tomorrow. My wife is a big Indianapolis Colts fan, and my daughter is a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. I'm a fan of neither one of them, but what I am a fan of is chili. I'm going to make some chili for tomorrow for the game and some other things that we may throw in here that we're going to snack on during the game tomorrow. But tomorrow's game between Kansas City and Indianapolis, we're going to have some chili. Be back soon. Okay, everyone kind of knows what goes into chili. Everybody has their own recipes. But what we're going to do here today is we got one chopped poblano pepper, three serrano peppers, a half of a white onion chopped up, three cloves of garlic, teaspoon and a half of paprika, a teaspoon of Mexican oregano, and 2 teaspoons of cumin. We also have 2 packages of chili powder, 2 cans of chili beans, a can of crushed tomato, some chipotle peppers, and some tomato paste. We also have 3 pounds of ground chuck and 1 pound of cubed up stew meat, basically cubed up chuck roast into about 1/4 inch sections. We're going to do both of these here. And we'll get back into this here in a minute after I start cooking this meat up some. So be back to you soon. All right, so what we got going on in here, I've got 3 tablespoons of bacon fat that reserved back from cooking breakfast. We got that stored up in here, and we're going to throw this uh, cubed up chuck in there. We're going to brown this off. Get a good nice sear on it. That bacon fat is going to give it a little bit of smoky flavor to it, but we're going to brown this off. These bigger chunks of meat are going to give this chili a little bit more texture than just your normal ground beef chili. We're going to get this going here. And season it up with some salt and pepper. Now this doesn't need to be cooked all the way through. It just kind of needs to be browned because we are going to let this simmer. And of course, anybody who knows anything about eating chili, it's always better the next day. So we're going to cook this tonight. Let it set up, simmer for a while, turn it off, let it cool down, put it in the fridge. Let it marinate overnight, let them spices and seasonings bloom up, and then we'll have it tomorrow during this game. So I'm going to brown this chuck off and be back to do that ground beef over there here in a minute. All right, that stew meat is finished browning. Now we're going to brown off this ground chuck. I did reserve back all the juices that came off of this stew meat because we're going to add that back in there to reinforce this beefy flavor to this chili in a little bit. So I'm going to brown off this ground chuck. I'll season it up with some salt and pepper, brown it off, and then I'll be back with it in a little bit. All right, so we got our beef all browned off. Got ground chuck's roast cubed up. What we're going to do now is go in with our veggies. So Going to go in with our poblano first. Got a little bit of the beef fat left over from browning off that meat in the bottom of there to use. Get our onions in there to cook these veggies off, get them all softened up, ready to start building this chili. So going to go with these peppers and onions first. They're the ones that are going to take the longest. Put that garlic in too soon, it will burn and get bitter on you. So we're going to brown this peppers and onions. Cook them until they're just getting softened and translucent. Start smelling them. Man, I'll tell you right now already, this is going to be good. So, alright. Got pepper and onion going in there. With a dash of pepper and salt. Season up those veggies. Alright. Starting to get a little brown edges on them onions in there, so now we're going to go in with our serrano. That's where some of the heat's going to come from this chili. So not too spicy, a little bit spicier than jalapeno, but give it a nice chili flavor to it. Alright. Whew! Smell those serranos in the air. Tickling your nose. Start opening some of these cans here. You're going to need these pretty quick. Tomato will go in here. Use part of this tomato paste. Tomato paste gives a really strong tomato umami taste. It's going to boost that meaty flavor in there. And we're going to get some of this chipotle for a little smoky heat in there too. So, alright. Give these another turn. Toss this garlic in here. I'm going to let it go just till we can smell the garlic. Then we're going to start putting this other stuff in there. So you don't want that garlic to burn. Like I said, it'll get bitter on you if you let it go too long. Give it just a minute, maybe. Oh yeah, there it is. Alright, now then, let's go in with about 2 tablespoons of this tomato paste. Maybe a little more. Stir that around in there. This tomato paste, especially with tomato paste, you want to cook it before you start really building your stuff, because it will have a kind of a tin can taste to it for it being canned. So you kind of want to cook that kind of flavor out of it. Tomatoes aren't so bad, but tomato paste really, if you don't cook that flavor off of it, it will give it kind of an off taste to it a little bit. Man, that smells good. All right. So we're going to go in with our spices. Got our cumin, teaspoon and a half, or 2 teaspoons, a teaspoon and a half of paprika, and a teaspoon of Mexican oregano. We're going to go in with all that. Let those spices bloom up a little bit. But just wait. Just wait. All right. I'm going to throw one of these chipotle peppers in there. And about 2 tablespoons of that sauce that's in there with those. Smell that smokiness. And while you're stirring this up, just chop that chipotle pepper that you put in there. Chop it up. They're already soft. To get in there with a little bit of heat, it'll soften up some more. So we used to have a little place here in town that's their main thing was hot dogs, and we had a chili that they put on their chili dogs that was made with a dark beer that was brewed here in Missouri. But that's what I'm going to try to replicate here today with this, is put in a little dark beer to deglaze this pan. They're now out of business and it don't matter anymore. The name of that place was Instant Karma. They had a really good dark lager chili that they served on their chili dogs, and kind of missed that place. It was really good. One of those hole-in-the-wall local places that, you just kind of miss when they're not there anymore. Anyway, got this dark beer in here. I'm going to make a bit of a sauce going on here. Let that cook down a little bit. Then we're going to put these tomatoes in there. Let them cook a little bit. Then we'll put the meat back in there. And let this simmer for a couple of hours before we put them beans in. And then let it set till tomorrow, and we'll eat it for the game. So be back in a little bit. All right, this stuff is bloomed up. It smells really good. It's reduced down some. It's gotten a little thick, so I'm going to put these crushed tomatoes in there. Stir that up a bit. Get this base going. Then I'm going to go back in with this meat, and we'll put it on. Let it simmer for a couple hours before we put the beans in there. Then we'll shut it down, let it cool overnight, heat it up in time for game time tomorrow. So, all right, let's go back in with this ground chuck. If this winds up being a little bit too thick, we can always go in there with a little bit of beef stock, or we can pour some more of that dark beer in there and thin this out a little bit if we want to. But I think this is probably going to be all right. So give this a little bit of a turn, spin that in there, and there with that chopped up chuck meat. A little extra texture. Good right now, so get a spoon here. Give it a little preliminary taste. Forgot about this extra beefy flavor that we reserved back here. Get that spin back in there. Oh man. Yep. I think this might be a winner. That first taste is pretty dang good, so. Alright. One more taste, see if it needs anything. Alright. Gonna let this go for an hour or so. We'll put the beans in there and let it rest overnight. We'll heat it up. Probably put it in a crock pot before we go to church tomorrow morning. And then it'll be ready for game time tomorrow. But I'll let you know how it turns out after it sets overnight. So be back soon. All right, here are chili that we made yesterday afternoons in the crock pot. Recap a little bit. 3 pounds of ground chuck. 1 pound of chuck stew meat cut into 1/4-inch bites. Got some can of crushed tomatoes in there. Got 2 cans of chili beans that I did add in there before I put this to rest last night. Got chili powder, paprika, salt, pepper, Mexican oregano, 3 serrano chilies, 1 poblano chili, a half a white onion, and about 3/4 of a can of Guinness beer in there. So we're going to let this ride until noon, come up game time, and then we'll get this tasted here in a little bit when it warms up some, because it just came out of the refrigerator. We're going to let this ride on low until game time. So see you soon. All right, this chili is done. It's game time. Let's give this a taste and see how we did. That's a pretty good bowl of chili. A little bit of spice from those serrano peppers in there. Taste that poblano. That Guinness beer just gives it a nice depth of flavor. Guys need to give that one a try. It's pretty good stuff. Talk to you later.